Started. Happy December. We're nearly at the end of the year, which is exciting. Hope everyone's getting to some nice Christmas parties and starting to enjoy the festivities. Why don't we get started? I think we've got a few on the call now. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Really excited to bring this webinar to you today. So today we're continuing our AI in the NetSuite ecosystem series, taking a closer look at Traild and how its AP automation tools make payables faster, cleaner, and far more secure for your NetSuite teams. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. So we'd love to hear from you throughout the session. Please feel free to use our chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll get to your questions in our Q&A session. You'll also see some polls pop up throughout the webinar. When they appear, please add your votes and we can see where everyone's at. So here's what we're covering today. We'll start with introductions and then we'll share a little bit about our partnership with Traild. And then I'll hand over to the Traild team to introduce the platform, cover some of their newer AI capabilities and run through a live demonstration. Finally, we'll finish up with some Q&A. So let's introduce ourselves. My name's Renee, Customer Success Manager here at Annexa. I work predominantly with our Victorian and New Zealand-based customers to ensure they're getting the most out of their NetSuite investment, making sure our customers' solutions are set up efficiently for today and future growth and expansion. My role requires me to work closely with our fantastic partners such as Traild to make sure our customer solutions are tailored to their individual needs. So over to you, Traild. Thanks. If you could please introduce yourself.
Hi there, and thanks, Renee. I'm Kirsten, and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Channel Enablement in the APAC region for Traild, and I'm delighted to be with you here today. My goal is to show you how AI can work invisibly for you, giving you effortless efficiency and seamless security in your accounts payable workflows. We're here to make life easier, simpler, and safer for you. I'm also joined by Ben, our NetSuite Solutions Engineer and Resident Expert. Over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Kirsten. Hi, everyone. My name's Ben. I'm a Solution Engineer here with Traild. I've been working in the NetSuite ecosystem for over 15 years, starting out as a hands-on user, then moving into a lead functional consultant role, and now applying that experience here at Traild. My background across implementation, optimization, and real-world operation use gives me a deep understanding of what organizations need for AP automation, and I'm excited to walk you through how Traild helps deliver that.
Thanks, guys. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll move to a quick introduction about Annexa. I think most of you on the call know who we are, but for those who don't, Annexa is Australian and New Zealand's leading NetSuite integration partner. Our work is really about helping organisations get more from their technology, building connected cloud ecosystems that improve efficiency, streamline processes, and create a solid foundation for growth. A big part of that is working with our partners, such as Traild. So we love to work with partners that we really trust, and we're excited to now partner with Traild. So essentially how we got to this place, it's actually a new partnership, which is really exciting for us. We noticed that our customers were talking about Traild, so we set up a meeting with their team to investigate their tech. It stacked up really well against other AP automation offerings in the market and had a key focus on fraud. This really resonated with our customers, and many of our customers really found that was a really interesting thing that they were looking for. So we're basically partnered with lots of customers together now, and we're looking to keep that partnership going and keep working with Traild. So I'm going to hand it over to the Traild team to hear more about it from them. Thank you.
So you'll hear the words from me today: effortless efficiency and seamless security. Ben and I are super excited to hear exactly what you think about Traild. So let's just say AI is your tool and your team is your decision maker. Now, I can't claim fame for this phrase, but I heard it last week, and I think it's really, really important. AI can benefit your business, but it really does depend on your own goals, your own context, as I'm sure if you've attended any of the other webinars across this series. Certainly, I think there is no right answer. So how are businesses getting value from AI today? And there are really three main ways. One is individual productivity, like clever emails, quick policy writing, documents reviews. There's process improvements, which often involve automation for efficiency, growth, and cost reduction. And a really exciting area is new products and experiences. And I'm really excited to hear what you're thinking about in your own businesses about that. So now I'd like to tell you about the story of Traild and our experience in AI. And I'm going to tell it as a little fairy story. So once upon a time, there was a family business in a little town called Melbourne. Everyone worked hard and it was a happy place. And one day, as everything was running so well, the owner decided to go off on a well-earned holiday. But unbeknownst to them, they had an intruder hiding in the owner's email. And just like the big bad wolf in Red Riding Hood who pretended to be grandma, the intruder impersonated the owner, and writing and sounding just like them, the scammer tricked an unsuspecting team member to pay an invoice. And these good workers who trusted the information and the sender sent off the money. Valuable dollars that had been hard earned were never to be seen again. And everyone felt really upset, unsurprisingly. And they also felt vulnerable and silly. Now, our founder was a part of this business, and he happened to look down at his own credit card and was reminded when there was a hold on his account as the bank asked him to verify if he'd bought $75 worth of pizza over in Chicago. Unsurprisingly, he hadn't. But clever algorithms had alerted his bank about abnormal behavior on his personal credit card. Now, our founder knew that, and he knows that people aren't robots. They can't always be on, and he didn't want them to be always on either. But having a digital protector for the business cash sounded pretty good. And when he looked around, he realized that fraud was a big and growing problem for many businesses in Australia. And not only that, happening all over the world. And with the growing sophistication of AI, there were now many, many ways that villains can get their hands on the lifeblood of a business. And there are other families being hurt and damaged by business invoice fraud. Other businesses were failing because of greedy and unscrupulous people preying on goodwill and trust. Yet there is also shame in being defrauded. We feel stupid. We keep it quiet. We feel that we should have been smarter, more diligent, more something. And scammers absolutely prey on this psychological damage that they inflict upon individuals. Only 1 in 7 businesses actually report their incident, so the numbers here are likely to be understated, and they're not inconsiderable numbers. And with this silence, it's not surprising that we are increasingly vulnerable to social engineering, clever fake invoices, deep fake scams, and countless other ways that are trying to trick us. So our founder came together with another friend who'd also experienced similar invoice fraud problems and decided that they wanted to build a product with the AI anomaly detection behavior that they saw in credit cards and direct it towards protecting business-to-business payments as the digital always-on protector of the business. So the AI we use at Traild is simply designed with the goal to help businesses be more efficient and more secure. And we all know that everything is getting faster and more complex with more demands on our time. We're just pulled in so many different directions and the pace is relentless. And to be frank, it is hard to get everything right all the time, even if we are great at our jobs. And let's be honest, mistakes are uniquely human. But our practical AI is not. And that is a good thing for us. So you might have existing processes, and you probably do, and you probably think they're okay, but perhaps they are not enough. I recently spoke to a bookkeeper whose client was paying invoices before he sent them to him for coding. And because he didn't have any system protect what was going on, he ended up paying over $200,000 in more than one fraudulent invoice. And sadly, he was actually having to dip into his super to ensure he could meet his monthly wage bill. I'm also often told, oh, look, we've worked with the same suppliers for years. And that is great. That is what you want to do. You want to have great relationships with your good suppliers. But what would happen to your business if they were compromised and you ended up paying a fraudulent invoice with their logo, so you thought it was safe, but there was one teeny digit change in the bank account details? So I think we are always looking for better processes. So, and if you can be make it even better, would you really be interested? So how does it work? Our AI builds a digital fingerprint of your business. It learns what normal looks like for each supplier relationship that you have in your business, creating a unique behavior fingerprint. It looks at many different data points, from your supplier master data in NetSuite to bank account details and business registrations, trends in transaction data, and even the metadata. So going beyond the human eye to pick up irregularities in the IP location, PDF manipulation. It picks up invoice duplicates, it picks up errors and inconsistencies, and it alerts you. And it gives every invoice a risk profile using the traffic light system of green, orange, and red. So Traild, we think, is the premium AP solution for NetSuite. But of course, I'd naturally say that, right? However, our customers do love how quick and easy onboarding is and how easy user training is. They love that we're actually embedded in NetSuite and they don't need to go in and out if they don't want to. And they love how Traild allows a finance team to focus on the really important and complex issues of a business, rather than doing data entry and manual checking. And so, along with our invoice fraud protection capabilities, we can see that our practical AI is actually reaping efficiency benefits for our customers. Statistics from the ATO, the Australian Tax Office, show that to process a single invoice manually, it costs $26 per invoice. And this includes all the time involved in coding, approving, reviewing invoices, going backwards and forwards. And that cost is actually reduced to $7 with Traild's practical AI, meaning that for an average invoice volume of around 300 invoices a month, the annualized savings is close to $70,000. So the time that's freed up by our AI can be then spent on more value-adding tasks within your business. So I started telling you the Traild story, and now you're probably wondering, is there a happy ending? Good news. We can and we will together win against the bots. Now, according to ScamWatch Australia, numbers are moving down. In 2024, there are over 500,000 reports and losses of over $2 billion. Now, those are big numbers, right? But that is a 26% decrease from 2023, when the losses were actually $2.7 billion and there were 600,000 reports. And on a personal front and a corporate front, we're seeing a lot more corporate vigilance on this front. I mean, even my mother, who has a password manager and understands what multi-factor authentication is. And so from that original founder idea in 2019, Traild has grown and expanded from our Melbourne origins. We're now 200 people supporting over 1,200 customers in 16 countries. So going back to those original 3 AI buckets I discussed in the beginning, Traild uses AI to deliver employee productivity and process improvement. And hopefully we think it's a new product and experience, but that's up to you to say. So what I would say is that AI doesn't have to be hard, but it does actually have to solve a genuine business problem. And so for us, Traild uses AI to eliminate invoice fraud and protect the cash flow, the lifeblood of any business. And now it's time to see how this practical AI works in Traild. I'm just going to share my screen now, so let's hope this all works smoothly. Right. Can you see my screen? Can I have a nod from someone, please? Yep, it's looking good. So what you're looking at now is Traild embedded in NetSuite. So what we have is, how do you get your invoices into Traild? They can be immediately forwarded from your accounts payable inbox, or they can be uploaded here with a very simple upload button where you can see they must be PDF, JPEG, or PNG files, or you can forward them to your own email address that we create for you in Traild. They're all digital, and so if you can take a photo of it and upload it into Traild. It's super easy. So all I'm going to do now is quickly show you a little bit about the automation process. So Traild, as our AI, is already starting to read this information for you. But you can see, because we're sitting embedded in NetSuite, all the other things you normally need to do with vendors and suppliers and customers, you can actually already do that sitting here. So I'm going to click on an invoice, and this is what we'd call a three-way match invoice, because it's a purchase order invoice. So you can see here on the left-hand side, so we're matching all the header level information. A lot of people ask us if we use a template, and we don't. So this is actually learning. This actually is learning. You can see the little red box on the left-hand side. You can see it moving around the page. So while our AI recognizes that we think the invoice number is the one that you should be using, if for whatever reason you decided you wanted to use a customer number, it would remember that for the future. Now you're starting to look at, that's just some of the automation and classification and extraction information that's going on. But we're also actually looking at some of the invoice fraud. So for example, if it read this, instead of saying Action Aluminium on the right-hand side as supplier instead of Officeworks, you can see immediately that the payment details are not detected. So it's already sending you that alert. Let me just fix that back up. Let's go back through that. So now I just need to look at the due dates. You can see it's a fuzzy match on the due dates here, because it's reading you can see that it's reading the 30 days and it's calculating that for you. Now the supplier data is coming in from your NetSuite information, so you don't actually need to do that. However, it's also looking, you can see the bank account details there, and it's also looking at making sure that they are consistent between the invoice and your supplier data. It's also starting to check the tax numbers to check whether your company registrations are valid, or if maybe they've been expired. The pricing and the currency, the currency and the tax file information, tax currency information are all being brought in from your NetSuite data, and you want to check that the invoice number is reading the right number here. That's correct. So that's a header level information done. Now, because it has this purchase order here, you can see at the goods level, what we're able to do is we're doing a three-way match. We can actually click in the information here from goods receipts that we've pulled in from NetSuite. So it's just a simple click. At the moment, I've done no data entry whatsoever. And you can see the information here from the purchase order, line item detail, and the receipt numbers. So all the description, quantities, unit costs are all coming in from that purchase order. Now, if you did have any custom fields or custom segments that you needed to add in, and I know a lot of NetSuite customers do, we can actually make that happen to make sure that you've got all the information that you need. Now, it also is telling you whether there's any variance. And this is variance here is to do with the freight that's appeared on the invoice that was not on the purchase order. So all you need to do is add a quick little freight line, and it's adding that in, and now the variance is zero. So that's a line. There's lots of information around the line. There's no way that you need to do any data entry on the line level detail, even if the invoices and the line level details go over many pages. It reads it automatically. So here we actually have an in-platform communications. So this is an audit trail. So you can see exactly all the activities that have happened on this file, and that gets translated all the way through into NetSuite along with this invoice. So if I needed to actually do a digital stapler and put some extra documents on that, I can add that in. That document will also follow Traild all the way through. Now, because this is a purchase order invoice, I can immediately submit it. So that it's learning that the next person it should go to as an approver is me, which is not very normal, but for the sake of this information, I will do that. So I just have to submit that invoice, and it will go to the next level approval, and we'll flick onto my next invoice. Now, this invoice I wanted to show you because it's starting to talk about, I was talking to you about invoice fraud detection. This one here looks like a very typical invoice that we would pay with Amazon Business. It is one of our suppliers, but this time it's like that when I talked to you about, where it looks like it's a proper invoice, but the actual payment details don't actually match what's on your system. Now, if I'm processing, I'm processing this. I don't want to actually do that. Let me see what I've done. I'll go back out. How do I go back out of that? I don't want to do that. So if I do want to go back out, oh, Ben, what am I doing? I'll go back into that. Sorry about that. I've just pressed on something I didn't mean to. Got a blank page. So now I'm going back into my draft invoices. I'll go back into that one and process the one I was looking at. Where is it? So the Amazon one. So I can process it if I want to, but I don't really want to. You can see that but if I wanted to, I can still submit it. And I want to show you what will happen when I do that. I'm still trying to do it, and I can do it. And it will come up with a risk profile going forward. Now, this is a multiple. You can see this invoice here actually has more than one page. It's a 4-page invoice. If I click down here. And so what you need to do, it's like, how do you process this? You can split this very, very easily into 3 different invoices, or how many invoices. It's reading it, telling you where reading the header and the footer here by information, and saying split the document very, very easily. So now I'll go back again into my invoices while that's doing that, and I can process those separately. Now, if you do have a lot of non-purchase order invoices, you can actually look at those as well. So this is I also wanted to show you this one here. So this one here is actually come in as an invoice, and it's being processed automatically because we have an automatic approval process sitting in the system. And I'll talk you through that. Are there any more invoices I need to look at? The other ones I wanted to look at here is this final one here. Now, this is what I was saying, just like it's an Officeworks invoice, but it's already been processed. So this is actually telling you that this actually has a duplicate invoice in the system. Now, if I wanted to, I can approve it. I can code it as much as I want, as I can do that. Everything I need to do, it's all looking correct. However, the information is already duplicated in there. So if I want to do that, it's going to ask me I'm going to have to say submit duplicate to make sure I'm being very, very deliberate in what I'm doing. So you can see that our fraud protection is happening at a very, very early stage while the invoices are being processed. So that's our draft invoices that have been done. And now as an individual, I'm going to move from, at the moment, I haven't done any data entry whatsoever. And now I'm moving into an approver role, which is the pending review here. And I've got 2 invoices here that I need to look at. So 2 of these invoices that have gone through now have a risk warning here. One is green and one is red. Now, as an approver, I can actually look at this on a screen here, or I can actually approve these on a mobile. So it has exactly the same information that the original person saw as well, who was processing the invoice, which is great. So it's that full transparency. You can actually understand the decision-making process that they've had going through. It does say it's been marked that everything looks great to me, and it's got that risk profile. It's very hard to miss right in the middle of the page. And it does say a little bit of extra information. It's still low risk, but it's saying it's had additional items added. And that was that freight that we added in before. So now I just decide, you can see the actions that have been recorded on this invoice. It's been submitted for review. What have I done with it? What happens next? And so if I approve it, that will actually be added to the activity button. So now it flips to the next invoice for me, which is that one that I pushed through, even though I knew that the payment details looked odd. And I wanted to push that through to you so you can see what happens at the approver level. So it has all the information we had before, but again, that really, it's very hard to miss that high risk profile right in the middle. And it's telling you not only there are payment details not detected, but it's starting to look at the trend data inside the information and saying, this looks really inconsistent with that supplier footprint we were talking about with previous invoices we've had. The maximum previously was 2,390. The average is 375. And this one has come in at 8,000. So it's a lot of money. And it's a big difference. So that's where we're saying when we're talking about what normal looks like for this supplier, this does not look normal. So you can see those activities and I can decide whether to reject it or not. And this time I am going to reject it. I could actually do it as a fraudulent invoice, or what I can do, I can contact somebody in my team and say, please do that. Or I can actually send it to somebody else for approval and investigation. So I can write a little note here and say, Aaron, please check. So I'm actually going to reject that one. I'm going to send that and that will go onto the file there. That will follow the invoice all the way through if that's what I want. I'm going to reject this one and say, I think it's a fraudulent invoice. So now as an approver, I've done my role. As an approver, I don't have anything more to do. So if you are using the I know there'll be some people here who are using the NetSuite approvals process. You don't need to use the Traild approvals process if you don't want to at all, because you've already got that set up. What Traild does provide you with a risk profile for every single invoice as it goes through into NetSuite. So you could actually have them there. We do have this interim stat saying approved and exported. What we can do is set that up so it goes all the way through into NetSuite for you. Now you'll see one invoice here has been auto approved. And this is what one of the big projects we're doing at the moment is around auto approvals. So that if there are invoices that set up according to particular rules for you, we can actually send them all the way through the system. This is the one that was the purchase order for you. So what had happened was that we had a three-way match and it was deemed low risk. And we have actually approved that and you can go all the way through, directly into NetSuite. So if you do have a quick look at approvals, there's a lot of ways we can set up. The approval rules can be set up in exactly the same way as you would set up your approval rules, delegations of authority, however you're currently doing it in your business. We help you set up the original ones, and as your business grows and evolves, your admin can set up new rules. And they're really simple to do. You just create an approval rule like here, and you say what the conditions are. Say, for example, you want an invoice total of over $10,000. You do it like this. This is the first time I've done any data entry like that. And I say, well, what's the risk condition? Well, I say if the risk is low, and I want it to be sent to these people. So who are going to be my users? It's going to be Aaron at the first level, and it can be Mitch and Traild support user at the second level. So there's my approval rule set up, and all the approval rules will go through depending on that. So if you had a high risk invoice, maybe they automatically go into one person or whatever you need to do. So that's the approval side of things. Now, I just want to show you one more thing, and depending on how we're going for time, I might show you something else as well. So we do actually also have something called an executive payment review here in Traild. And we built this. This is one of the very first features that our founders always envisaged, because they wanted to know, it's like finding a needle in a haystack and when you're actually doing that final payment. So because Traild does have a two-way sync in real time with NetSuite, this information, you're creating your batch file in NetSuite. This information syncs back into Traild into our payments function. So these are all the batch files before you have actually done their final payment. So this, if you can imagine, a lot of people I know do this as an Excel list, and it's a paper copy, and they need someone to sign it off. And the idea is that they've had nothing to do with this, but it's a pretty important function of the business. So these are all the different batch files here. You can see here that this one says no warnings apply. And this is what you should see in every single batch file. We're putting that Traild risk overlay of it and telling you what we think it is and looks like. And so you can see on the right-hand side, every single one of these suppliers has a nice name green tick, and you can just approve it. And that becomes an audit trail for your business going forward on that batch file. Just going to go back and show you one that is not quite so desirable. Let's go back up here. So this one here, if there are any problems, you can see the suppliers with any problems immediately rise to the top of the file. So you don't actually have to look too far on this one. And even for somebody who's had nothing to do with any of the processes, and they can quickly go down into the granular detail and understand where the problem is. So you can see here the risk detail, it does a red risk detail and an orange one. So it's saying that the Traild invoice is less the payment value, and it looks like it matches a previous payment. So somehow it's got through the system, and let's have a look. So now you can see every single invoice that has gone through here. They've all got that risk profile, and there's a high risk one in here for whatever reason it's been in there. Now, if I were you, I would want to be taking that out of that risk profile, out of that batch payment and running it again and making sure I'm not paying that as I should. Now, this one here I think is quite interesting. So this not only has a high risk invoice in here, but there's an invoice in here that actually hasn't gone through Traild. So somehow the batch file has been tampered with. And it's actually, if you look at the amount relative to the total amount, it's $97,000 out of a total of 124. So there's two big problems here. So I would be wanting to immediately have a look at that batch file. I can also write to my colleagues and say, please stop this immediately. Do not pay. I am not going to approve this one. So I think that's pretty much everything I can show. Actually, I think I've got a little bit more time. One more thing I did want to show you is about the supplier statement reconciliations. So we know that for some businesses, this is a really important part of your business, and it takes a long time to do all that matching. So just in the same way that your invoices come into Traild and they're read and the data is extracted, this is what we're doing for your supplier statement reconciliation. So it's reading all the information here. You can see the little red boxes there. It's bringing it all across. And what you really want to do is find out whether you've received the invoices for it. So just as we do the two-way and three-way matching in Traild with regards to purchase orders and goods receipts, we can do that the same way with invoices. So it's found those invoices in the system and it gives you that status and tells you that the variance is 0. And so you can actually go on and say, yep, that one is fully reconciled and we're ready to go. So I've given you quite a bit of a whirlwind tour of what Traild does. So what they do here, you can see them sitting here. You've got them approved. They all get exported into NetSuite very easily. And you always have that risk overlay. So you've got, if you ever did need to go into Traild or into NetSuite and follow them back, you can go right down to every single invoice and very quickly understand what the risk profile was, who was involved with it, who approved it. And I think that is pretty much me for that today. So thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten. That was great. Really, really great demonstration. And I think that all the members on the call would really resonate with the process and how we can improve efficiencies and fraud there. So what we're going to do now is jump over to some questions. Thank you for those who have added the questions. I'm going to hand it over to Ben to go through those with you.
Thanks very much. So we do have quite a few questions here, so I'll just start answering some of these as we have them. So our first question here we have is, what do you mean by supplier fingerprint? So the supplier fingerprint is our AI at work. By drawing on many different data sources and data points, it learns the patterns of what's normal behavior a customer can expect with every individual supplier invoice, which means it picks up on anomalies, inaccurate or inconsistent information in an invoice. Hope that helps with that answer. So let's just see if there's any other questions here. Yes. So does Traild honor the NetSuite approvals process? Absolutely. We give you the option of utilizing Traild's approvals. And if you have set up your NetSuite approvals, which many customers do actually tend to do, we let you honor that as well. So with that there, you don't have to use the Traild approvals. When we export the information out into NetSuite, we include the risk score as well as the URL. So anyone can actually click back on that link and come into Traild to have a review of that. So we'll finish answering that one. Next question is, for approvers who are on the move, is there a mobile version of Traild? Absolutely. We do not lock you down to a desktop or a laptop. Our solution is fully mobile optimized. So if you're sitting in Starbucks having coffee and you get an email, you can answer that. We also do support email approvals as well. So if you want to sit there answering emails, you can just go approve, reject. It will come through into the Traild platform and then we'll process it that way. Next question. So what is the advantage of doing an executive payment review in Traild? So Kirsten's just actually showed that there. So an executive payment review in Traild provides a controlled high visibility checkpoint before funds leave the business. It strengthens governance, reduces fraud exposure, and gives leadership confidence in every payment batch. Any other questions in here? Oh yes, we still have a few more. Can a customer add in their own customized risks alongside the existing ones built by Traild? Definitely. We have just released a feature where you can create your own risk scores and risk profiles. So it might be that any particular supplier, if there's a particular value or a particular code on something, you can set a risk around that. And this is particularly useful in things like construction. Where you're receiving many invoices for different projects at a time. You can just make sure that any invoices are actually coming through coded correctly. We do have a question around amortization. So someone's asked, can Traild handle amortization? Yes, we can. So as part of our integration package, we sync all your amortization templates into Traild. You're able to select that and then set the start date. When the invoice pushes back into Traild, it will automatically create that amortization schedule for you. Okay, next question here. Can Traild handle custom fields and segments? So Kirsten has already answered this one. Yes, we can, absolutely. So if you do have any custom segments above the department location class, we can certainly accommodate those, as well as custom fields. So we do have some clients at the moment where we are actually tracking projects where they don't have access to the project module. They're using a custom segment to create those, and we're utilizing that to finish that for them. Next question here is, can Traild generate audit-ready reports that track all approval actions and changes? Absolutely, we can. We certainly have that built into our system using the communication function, as well as our reporting function in the system itself. You are able to generate and download reports through the Traild platform. That's all the questions we have for now.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you everyone for joining. We hope that it was valuable. Thank you for Team Traild for jumping on and providing all that great information. If you would like some further information, please reach out to your customer success manager and we'll be sure to get you in touch with the team at Traild. And we'll also send out a recorded video of today. So, yep, thanks for coming and have a great rest of your day. See you later.